Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. I was recently thinking, I was channeling, let's be real. I'm doing this Akashic Records practitioner training, and I'll be speaking more on the podcast what the Akashic Records are, but essentially it's a way of sort of channeling from a higher dimension, looking at your life from a higher and broader perspective, the layer of the Akasha, the highest layer up in the dimensions, which really oversees all. It's out of a place of judgment and personality and even spirit guides, and it's more of a place of all possibilities. And the Akashic Records are essentially where everything and every decision was ever stored, and again, in a metaphysical way. And when you tap into the Akashic Records, you are able to see your life from just a larger perspective and get out of your little, rat race that we're in every single day. And as I'm training to become a practitioner and channeling even for other people, part of it is doing your own work. You can't, it's just like when you become a psychologist, you can't automatically help other people. You have to first go through therapy yourself. So in the training, I'm going through my own Akashic Records retrievals. And the thing that came up for me so loud and clear every single time I've done it is this, that and I feel like maybe you, if you're listening to this, we get kind of stuck. We get stuck in this process of always wanting to do more. And it's a very beautiful desire. The desire to do is what creates and manifests and generates. And, we wouldn't have podcasts and the internet and buildings and gardens or anything without the act of doing. But as ambitious men and women, we often become too obsessed only with the doing part that we lose sight of the why. And what that could look like is always achieving the next goal, always waiting until you have a certain amount of money, which keeps on escalating, waiting until you have a certain number of followers, or you have this achievement or that achievement, all these accolades that your ego has basically told you that you need to be taken seriously, and deeper than that, to be loved. And most of the time, it stems down to our childhoods. It stems down to the little girl or the little boy in you that wanted to make your parents happy. So you brought home good grades and a cool art project and this and that, and your parents may have told you, great job, or next time it's going to be better. And then your teachers are telling you, your next report card, you better work harder. And then there's high school and college and this and that. And we're always just trying to achieve more, get to the next place. But it's very hard for us to take a moment to just look around us and see how far we've come. And what I've noticed with myself and a lot of my ambitious author friends is they write the book, and the book is in the hands of thousands of people, and everyone is loving it and should be their happiest moment. But in that moment, they're thinking, what else could I do? This wasn't enough. I didn't hit this list. I didn't get that award, or I didn't get the certain number of purchases that I had envisioned. And it's not just for writing books, it's for anything. It's for having, your own business at home selling essential oils. You're looking for a certain revenue per month, or you're looking to impact a certain number of people, whatever it is. But instead, we should just take that moment of achievement to really just love ourselves and just to tell ourselves, you're doing an amazing job. And look how far you've come. You used to be at the bottom of the mountain, and now you're up here. So instead of thinking about the higher peaks, why don't you just look down below you and see how many miles you've trekked already so beautifully? And it's hard for us. It's hard for me too. Especially when you're someone who really has this dharma that you want to achieve, this life purpose that you want to fulfill. Sometimes nothing can feel like enough. And I'm not telling you to squash that desire. That is a beautiful desire that all humans intrinsically have, and that's what keeps us going. And that's what keeps us motivated in hard times. But what doesn't come so naturally to us is just to take that sacred pause, to take that moment to just acknowledge how hard we worked and how far we've come, and really deeply inside of us know that the weight of the world doesn't lie only on our shoulders. You know, the Akashic records told me, they were like, do you realize that even if you weren't here, everything would be okay? And it was almost like this, no, just because my whole life I've been so identified with being the person who's going to save the world, the person who can solve everyone's problems, the person who's going to be there for everyone else, which is part of the Kapha Prakriti, the Kapha Dosha constitution that I was born with. So you want to help everyone. That's such a big part of my identity. And to really rest into the knowing that my work is loved and appreciated, but it's really not needed. You guys will be okay without me. If it wasn't me, you'll find someone else. And knowing that brings you a sense of humbleness, because you see really that you're just a human and you're just here to do the best that you can. And you're not supposed to fix every problem for everyone and be everything for every person. And oftentimes us who want to save the world and heal the children and all of these beautiful things we want to accomplish, we lose sight of our own health and how we are doing. We attribute our own happiness to other people's lives that we are affecting. And that's a great thing, but you have to feel nourished. And you have to feel deeply rooted and supported and grounded to really do the healing work. So what really came to me was I've been doing a lot of the vata, the brainstorming, and recently a lot of the pitta and the doing and the action, but I've really stepped away from the kapha. I've really stepped into the rest and nourishment and trust and just being. And when I got down to the core of why, it came from this guilt that I had that I have to be the one who supports everyone. And I think a lot of you guys listening have felt that way, especially if you're a natural born healer or coach or just that person that everyone comes to when they have a problem. It's almost like this intrinsic sense of guilt that if I'm not here, everything around me will collapse. And I just want to tell you that that's not true. And I also want to tell myself that that's not true. And that we were given amazing gifts that we were meant to share, but we were also meant to share those gifts with ourselves. And if we don't take that sacred pause to fill up our own cups and to nourish and love ourselves and treat ourselves the way that we want to treat others, we're only going to be showing a burnt out, depleted part of us, which isn't really the way that we want to show up either. So it's amazing how the universe works. I planned this trip to Bali, a solo trip to Bali, because I felt like I needed to focus on writing my upcoming book, which is a book on Ayurvedic entrepreneurship, looking at the doshas from an entrepreneurship setting. And it's a book I'm super passionate about, but I haven't had time to really go in and write it the way that when I wrote The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda for 2 months, that's all I did. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't do anything else but go to yoga and write that book. And it's an amazing book. It's a best-selling book, but because I really gave my all to it. But now at this point in my career, I have so many hats that I'm wearing and roles in my career, and I'm sure you guys feel the same, that really what the records showed me is that creativity is not something that can be slotted in a 2-hour period of time. Creativity is like a flower that blossoms and unfolds. And you get first to the very outer layers, but the more you sink into it, the deeper and juicier and more fragrant it becomes. And when I'm between interviewing people and doing my program and putting out the fires that come day to day with owning your own business, how am I going to really be channeling the highest information that can move through me? When you're in responsive mode, you're not in creating mode. So what the records showed me was that the way that energy moves, especially as for a creative person, is the best thing to do is to organize your schedule by days. So schedule a day that's your admin day. That's the day that you're responding to emails, you're going back and forth, you're taking your phone calls, you're in that pitta boss mode. And that's the energy that you're channeling through. Do those all in one day. Then have a separate day where you're super in your vata and you're just channeling and you're allowing creativity to move through and you don't have any other responsive obligations to do. You're purely in that creative state. And then you can have one day a week where you really just rest and nourish yourself and do the things that light you up. You go to that yoga class and you take that walk and you spend time with your family. You read that book, you drink that cup of tea, and don't focus on doing anything that day. I know a lot of you guys listening are like, oh my God, I wish I could do that. I have a 9-to-5 job. I can't. And I'm not saying that this is what you have to do immediately, but I wish I had known that earlier, because I always saw creativity as something, that, okay, I can fit it in. I can fit it into my schedule. Like, okay, right now I'm going to write my book. And obviously it hasn't been working that way. When you really, really want to go deep, when you want to write a book that's going to change the world, when you want to create a work of art or a work of music or whatever it is, where you're going into this very deeply creative space, you can't be operating from that fight or flight responsive mode, because it's going to keep you at that surface level playing ping pong with the rest of the world, and it's going to prevent you from really letting go and going within. So even if you have that 9-to-5 job, maybe in the afternoon, set time for yourself to just create, or on a weekend. That's a beautiful time to just not do your laundry, not do this, not do that. Maybe keep that on Saturday, and Sundays you just create. But really what Spirit showed me was having long periods of time, 8 hours or more of uninterrupted creativity. And that's how you're going to channel your best work. So for a lot of us who are in that doing, and, I get it. I'm the kind of person who reads a business book and 5 pages in, I'm like, whoa, so motivated. I want to start doing things already. But know that your best work is going to come when you go deeply into that kapha state of rest, because creativity and the creation process move in cycles. And this is what my next book is about, the Ayurvedic Entrepreneurship book, which I still don't have the title for. But the vata is the idea. It's the brainstorming, the marketing, the big picture thinking. And then from that idea, we take one idea and we begin to play with it and dance with it. How would that feel? We start to market researches. Does that exist? We start to tell our friends about it. Do you think I could do this? What do you think about that? And we start to, come up with our brand colors and names. And it's still in the vata phase, but it's moving further into reality. And then we say, you know what? I'm just going to give this a go. And I'm going to push the pedal and do it. And that's the pitta phase. And that's when we are doing, achieving, sending out those emails, making those calls, writing that business plan, and executing it. Pitta is the stage of execution. And this is the largest part of a business creation experience. It's the actual doing of the business. And in the doing is how you learn about it. But this is where entrepreneurs get stuck. Now they say, okay, I'm in the doing, and they stay there. And this is where I just was. I was very much doing. But eventually, when you're always doing, your wheels are going to start to, burn out a little bit, and your car is not going to be running as smoothly, and it's time for your maintenance run. And that is the kapha. That is when you take the sacred pause. That is when you say, you know what? I'm going to trust and surrender that things will be okay without me. And I'm going to go inwards and see, is this really where I want to be? And is this what I want to be doing? And you start asking those big questions and making those big changes. And you can't do that when you're in fight or flight responsive mode. You have to do that from a deep place of rest. So that could look like going for a bath every night in the afternoon, or taking a week off from work and going on a great just vacation or retreat to yourself. It could look like just turning off your emails, putting an autoresponder for a week and just saying, you know what, I'm not taking emails this week. There are ways that we can create and craft these pauses. I mean, legally, every American gets 2 weeks of vacation. So use those vacations wisely instead of things, maybe visiting family members that after you leave, you feel like you need a vacation from them. Those aren't the things that are going to fill up your cup. You need to really feel like you can let go. And in that grounded kapha rejuvenation state, that's when the idea bubbles up again. And that's when in the bath you start thinking, what if I made this jewelry line? What if I created this service? What if this? What if that? And from that state of kapha, we reemerge back into the vata. And it's a beautiful cycle. So I'm leaving to Bali, guys. I'm going to be there for 2 weeks on my own. I'll be posting on my Instagram as much as I feel comfortable posting. I haven't been to Bali in 4 years since, you guys heard, I think it's episode 41, how I left everything. My life was just a kind of confused whirlwind at that point. And I left for Bali and it saved my life. And, my life doesn't need saving right now, but I really know that deeper levels of me exist, that living in this responsive mode are not allowing me to unfold. So I'm retreating to Bali for 2 weeks. I'll still be podcasting from there. And I encourage you all to take that sacred pause. And I look forward to sharing my next book with you, which is all about the entrepreneurship process and how we can utilize the forces of the doshas to really expand our dharma missions and become truly our highest selves. So if anyone has any book title ideas for me, I am all ears. Please email it over to me. And if you loved this episode, you love this podcast, as a free gift, I would love to share with you the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. This is a different book from Eat Feel Fresh, my cookbook that's coming out in October. This book is now part of my Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type 12-week program, which you can find on my website, iamsahararose.com. It infuses ancient Ayurvedic wisdom with modern nutritional science, comparing Vata, Pitta, Kapha to ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. Lots of anecdotes, really beautiful, really colorful, and I don't have it published anywhere. Eventually I will, but I still don't. Right now, the first half is just a gift from me to you for writing a review for this podcast. So all you have to do is head over to the iTunes store. You can do it on your app, the podcast app on your phone, or you can do it online. Just look up iTunes Highest Self Podcast, search for it. Click write a review, write a beautiful review, take a screenshot before hitting submit, and email it over to me at sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. And within hours, I will send you back the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. I so look forward to sharing with you how this Bali journey goes. I don't know what awaits, but I know it's something deep and profound, and I look forward to sharing it with you all. Namaste.